If you're dealing with any type of digestive symptoms at all, then it can be really important to understand how stress can affect this entire digestive system. And when you understand how when you affect this digestive system, those problems can create havoc all over the entire body. I think this is going to freak you out just a little bit. Here we go.
TC Hale is not a doctor and does not claim to be a doctor or licensed in any type of medical field. Don't be an idiot and use anything heard on the show as medical advice. This information should be used for educational purposes only, and you should contact your doctor for any medical advice. Now get off me.
So to understand how stress can affect the digestive system, we really need to understand the autonomic nervous system, or the ANS, and we need to understand digestive function a little bit. So the autonomic nervous system kind of runs a lot of the show behind the curtains. Like, you don't have to think about breathing, that just kind of happens. So there's functions that the autonomic nervous system handles for us without us having to do those things. So there's two sides of that system. There's the parasympathetic side, which is the rest and digest side. And then there's our sympathetic fight or flight side, which is like our stress response. So both of these states are appropriate, and the body will move back and forth between those states when the circumstances arise. The problem is, for a wide variety of reasons, some people can get kind of stuck in one of these states. And if they lean too far into one of those states most of the time, it can kind of create a lot of health symptoms. So let's understand that for just a second, and then we're going to run over here to this digestive function. And this is important to understand, that when we eat food, our stomachs make hydrochloric acid. And that acid helps us start to acidify that food so that we can break it down and get nutrients out of that food. And then once that acidic product leaves the stomach, then our gallbladder squirts this alkaline bile down here into this duodenum. Some people like to call it a duodenum, but it's funner to say duodenum. It's also funner to say funner. I don't know if you tried that out yet. But basically, when this bile comes down, it neutralizes the acids that left the stomach. And when that acid product leaving the stomach meets the alkaline bile, those opposite pHs colliding like that creates a sizzle. And that really helps us bust the food apart and helps us access the nutrients in the food that we ate. That's kind of why we eat food. It's not just because it's delicious. So we need that stomach acid function working correctly, and we need bile flowing correctly to come down and neutralize the acids that leave the stomach. Now, it's really common for someone not to be making enough stomach acid for a wide variety of reasons, and it's really common for someone's bile to become too thick and sticky to flow correctly. And if either of those sides of digestion are not working correctly, you can't really bust the food apart and get all of the nutrients out of that food. So now we want to look at the effects of this sympathetic state on this digestive functioning system going on, because when you're in this sympathetic state, this fight or flight emergency state, the body changes the way that it operates to prioritize survival. So if you're running from a lion, you're not going to be like, hey, I'm going to go over there because there's a lion right there. You're going to really run fast. You're going to accelerate as fast as you can, and your body's going to change the way that it operates. It's going to change your blood pressure. It's going to change the way that it creates or utilizes glucose. It's going to constrict your vascular system. It's going to do a lot of things to make sure that you get to survive in that 2 to 4 minute span when you're running away from that lion. So the body does this on purpose, and it's a really good idea. You want your body to do this when you're running away from a lion. It takes energy from your midsection and puts it to your extremities so you can run or you can fight off this guy that's going to eat you just a little bit. The problem is, in today's world, we're not running from a lion. We're stressed because we're stuck in traffic, or, oh man, my rent's been due for 6 months and I have $14. That's a real stress. And the stress doesn't last 2 to 4 minutes, it lasts 2 to 4 years. So what we need to understand is when we're stressed all the time, it can really push us into this sympathetic state most of the time. Now here's what we got to come back to. Remember this HCl production that had to happen in the stomach so we can acidify our food? I'll put some links in the description below to some research that shows that the body needs to be in this parasympathetic rest and digest state in order to be able to produce this HCl. So if someone's in this fight or flight state, the body's not going to optimize for digestion. In what scenario would the body need to run from a lion and also eat a sandwich at the same time? You're never going to do that. So the body wouldn't prioritize for that. It sets it up so that, shut up, I'm talking to people about stress. So the body's set up with these two different states so that it can optimize for different circumstances. If it's going to prioritize survival, digestion is going to play some second fiddle there, and that would make sense. We want that to happen so that we get to survive. Now, let's look at the other aspect. Another problem of being in this overstressed state is that when you're stressed, the body will raise stress hormones to help the body function at a higher level. And the problem is some of these stress hormones like estrogen is not just a female hormone like a lot of people think. Estrogen is a stress hormone. And when stress hormones go high, some of those can thicken our bile so that it won't flow correctly. And if that bile becomes too thick and sticky to flow, it won't come down and neutralize the acids that are leaving the stomach. So if this bile is too thick, that's going to reduce our ability to assimilate the nutrients that we're eating. Bile also helps us emulsify or break down our dietary fats, and it's required so that we can assimilate fat-soluble vitamins like A, E, D, K. We kind of need those so that we can function. Bile is also the main detox pathway to the body. So the liver filters out this junk and it puts it in the bile that it sends down to the gallbladder. And then when the gallbladder brings it down here to neutralize these acids, the bile will continue to carry the toxins that were filtered out by the liver through the intestinal tract so those toxins can go out the back door when we poop like a champion. So that's the main detox pathway for the body. So when this bile becomes too thick and sticky because we're stressed all the time and all these elevated stress hormones are thickening up that bile so it can't move, then we're shutting down our body's detox pathway, and now all this filth and junk is going to stay in the system, and then we smell. Okay, that's probably not the biggest problem of filth and toxins in the body, but it's possible. So you don't want the filth and toxins in the body. You want them to leave. That's what that's for. Now here's where this gets a little bit worse. When you can't create that sizzle of the opposite pHs coming together, and there's pancreatic enzymes that come down too, and that helps neutralize acids a little bit, but we really need the alkaline bile to help us fully bust that food apart and get all these nutrients out of the food. Here's the other thing. The body needs minerals and nutrients to make hydrochloric acid. And a lot of people can't make hydrochloric acid just because the body doesn't have the resources to produce it. So if we lose one of these sides of digestion, and now we don't have as much access to as many nutrients, then it can restrict this side of digestion from functioning correctly. Now a lack of resources is restricting digestion even more. So when you look at the scientific side of all this and understand what's going on, you start to think, I might want to simmer down now. So we need to find ways to reduce the stress in our life. So there's a lot of ways to do that, but sometimes it's just a matter of finding ways to just calm down for a few minutes. We can also take this step of, hey, maybe I don't need to watch a television program that shows me the most horrific things that happen on every corner of the planet every single day. You just don't have to do it. Did you know that the police are not going to show up if you just turn the news off? Now some people say, well, I need to be informed. And being informed is one thing, but being inundated is another. Just know that you really don't have to watch the news. I stopped watching it years ago because I never felt good when I watched it. If something really important is going on, you're going to know because when you go to the grocery store, they'll be out of toilet paper. Another thing we need to look at is the stress in our body. So we might not have stress in our life, but the body might be dealing with stress. We could have some type of infection going on, and the body is going to war every day against this infection. There could be some type of invader in this intestinal tract, like bacteria in the stomach, like an H. pylori thing, or maybe we got some SIBO thing. All the cool kids have SIBO now, where they have a small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. So the body could be dealing with a stress. This lack of resources right here that comes from digestion not working correctly, that's a really big stress to the body. The body's trying to pay $800 worth of bills with $6 because it doesn't have the resources it needs to function correctly. It'll raise these stress hormones to try to get those functions to complete the way that they're supposed to happen. So you can see that a stressful time in your life could create enough stress to disrupt this digestive process, and then the disrupted digestive process can create stress in the body to kind of continue it through this cycle of just going on and on for years or decades. So what we like to see people do is just put whatever they can in their favor. Find any step that you can take to reduce this any way you can. You're probably not going to get rid of all the stress in your life. Do you have kids? Yeah, you're not going to get rid of all the stress. But when you can reduce it, That helps. When you can improve this any way that you can, you're putting something else in your favor. If either of these sides of digestion are not working correctly, you can take steps to improve that. And my book, Kick Your Fat in the Nuts, chapters 3 and 4, kind of walk you through figuring out which aspects of digestion might not be working correctly and what steps you can take to improve those. And the book is available on Amazon, but I'll put a link in the description below so you can get the whole thing totally for free, and that'll walk you through that process. And if you're not sure how digestion is going, go ahead and jump over right now and check out our video on 20 signs you're not digesting your food correctly. And that'll give you some insights that whether you might need to take some steps to improve this scenario while you're also trying to simmer down a little bit and improve that scenario. Let us know how it goes.